I think I have schizoid personality disorder. Um, I was it, I was kind of planning on how I wanted to make this video, uh, but like I said, I kind of wanted to do a lot of editing and stuff like that, possibly even though it was going to be my first time doing it. But I it became much more of a beast than I thought that it was going to be. It's like it's way more than what I thought it would be, and then all the things that I kind of wanted to do were. It's not something I couldn't do, but it kind of felt like I was just never going to do this, essentially. But I do want to first start off by kind of looking at what schizoid personality means, and the kind of the criteria uh, a therapist or a psychologist, psychiatrist would look at to even be able to diagnose you with this. So this article is by Tyler J. Torrico. I apologize if I if I do sound a little boring. I'm not. It's just kind of weird as I'm really out of my element right now. But in this article, which is on the I guess NIH government website. I don't know what NIH stands for, but it's National Library of Medicine, National Center of Biotechnology Information. I'll have the link to this article, which I found on Google, in the description. So here it says schizoid personality disorder is a psychiatric disorder characterized by a detachment from social relationships and a limited range of emotional expression in interpersonal settings. Individuals with schizoid personality disorder are often described as aloof, emotionally blunted, isolated, disengaged, and distant, frequently avoiding social interactions and using introversion as a defense mechanism. The disorder has complex origins involving a combination of genetic, environmental, and psychological factors. This disorder can adversely affect multiple aspects of life, underscoring the need for early intervention and interdisciplinary care. Diagnosis of schizoid personality disorder is based on criteria outlined in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, text revision, DSM 5 TR. Individuals with this disorder often present for treatment due to external pressures from family or maladaptive behaviors affecting others rather than personal distress. Management primarily focuses on reducing interpersonal conflict and stabilizing socio-economic conditions rather than aiming for remission of the disorder. This activity demonstrates the evaluation and management of schizoid personality disorder and highlights the role of disciplinary of the role of the interdisciplinary healthcare team in improving care for patients with this condition. Now, it's kind of weird because I'm not really in touch with my emotions. I don't think I've ever really been. Like, the only emotions that I typically ever feel are sadness and anger. Uh, Anger much more than sadness when I was younger. Sadness more now, which is very weird. And which is also why I kind of wanted to make this video. I'm not really sad. It's just I've been more emotional about things that I typically wouldn't be emotional about, and it's like bothering me that I seem to be emotional. But I'll get into that uh, later. I think. Hopefully, I remember. I'm gonna take a look at the criterion for this now. Says a pervasive pattern of isolation, limited social relationships, and restricted emotional expression is evident in interpersonal settings. This behavior pattern begins in early adulthood, wow, and persists across various contexts, manifesting in at least four of the following. Says limited or no enjoyment in close relationships, including with family. Nearly always chooses solitary activities. Minimal interest in sexual experiences with others. Finds pleasure in a few activities. Limited close friendships or relationships other than first degree relatives. Indifference to praise and criticism. Displays emotional coldness, detachment, and affective flattening. Now, it's very interesting because when I was younger, all of these would for sure ascribe me as like very interesting. The only one that might be different, the only one that I might have kind of been that I might not have had was indifference to praise and criticism. Now, mainly the praise part. Like I used to play football, and it did feel good to be acknowledged to a certain degree. However, I always felt like it was unexpected, and it always would depend on what it was about. If it was something I actually did good that I worked for, then it was like, okay, thank you for acknowledging me in a sense. Uh, I mean, that's how it kind of felt. But like the criticism, like it never. I mean, I don't know if it really bothered me, especially because criticism that I would get was from people I didn't really care about or even really know. But as of right now, limited or no enjoyment in close relationships, including with family. Man, I used to feel this to a T. But as of right now, I've been enjoying the relationship that I've had with, or that I have with my brother. It's been very interesting coming to realize that I actually do enjoy this relationship that I have with him. Not that he's a bad person or I just hate him or anything. It's just like before, I never really would have thought that I would have I would be enjoying his, I guess, company in a sense. Nearly always choosing solitary activities. I do that very often. Or I mean, I say very often, but I mean, if I am choosing to do something, it's typically something by myself, I would say. Um, Minimal interest in sexual experiences with others. Now, before I wouldn't really be able to understand this question because, or not question, but this criterion because I do watch a lot of adult content. Uh, but then I had a, let's say, I mean, I also know that watching adult content or like masturbating isn't necessarily something that goes against you being a schizoid or having schizoid personality disorder. Um, but like just sexual experience attraction towards that. Now, I never really ever had this feeling of like really wanting to have sex with somebody. There's only been one time that I ever was like, wow, I would really probably enjoy that, which is very funny. Um, I used to be a doorman or a security guy at a bar, and for whatever reason, this girl had just very nice lips, and I was like, wow, like those, for whatever reason, those lips are really attractive to me, and I wasn't really, well, I mean, I didn't fantasize about this, but I was like, man, I wonder how her lips would feel around my penis. I know it's a little weird to say, but I was like, man, that would be interesting. Um, However, I don't, for the most part, I don't really care to have sex with other people. I'm sure it's enjoyable, and I'm sure that I would enjoy it to his. I mean, I'm sure I would enjoy it. I mean, it's just I'm a man. I think I just naturally would enjoy it, but I don't necessarily like go out of my way. It's like that's a nice piece of woman. I want to partake in her body in some way. I don't really kind of get that feeling a lot of the time. Okay, limited close friendships or relationships other than first degree relatives. Um, Really, the only close relationship I have, technically, is my brother, and that's because he's living with me. Uh, we're not like we understand each other to a pretty high degree, but we're not. I don't necessarily think. I mean, maybe we are, but I don't really think that we're that close. I think we've definitely gotten closer since I've not been as much of an asshole in a sense as I used to be. I think that comes with age and some other stuff, but I think it's we haven't had a horrible relation. You know, it's funny. My brother used to think I was going to kill him. I just want to throw that out there. He used to think I was going to kill him, and I was very shocked that he thought that. But that's neither here nor there, technically. But indifference to praise and criticism. Now, this thing, it really depends on what I'm being praised or criticized for and who it's from. Because most of the time, I'll just like disregard it in a sense. Now, I don't disregard it in the same degree or sense that other people with schizoid personality disorder would. Um, like they're just completely, some would just completely not care. Uh, like this kind of goes back to whenever I was in high school playing football again, and whenever anybody would praise me, I wouldn't really accept it. I was like, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's fine, but it's like, it doesn't really matter because I didn't, like, it's not like I did anything special or extra or whatever. And then one time, my coach was like, just accept the praise or just accept somebody's like talking good about you. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess I could do that. I could just do that. I would just do that. And then the next time I got praised by a coach, it was in front of him, and I was like, oh, thank you. And it was just that, because typically I would go not really on a diatribe of nonsense, but I would, it would be like a sentence or two about how I was just doing what I was supposed to do and how it didn't really matter what I did. And then my coach was all like, you take his praise and thank you and all that, but you won't take mine. I was like, I'm listening to you, coach. You said to just accept it, and that's what I'm doing. He was like, oh, okay. But from that point on, I just kind of just was able to learn to just accept thanks from other people. Uh, I also learn how to kind of like just say, it's whatever, but I can just say I can just accept it. Now criticism, it really, like I said, it just really depends on who it's from and if I even care about what it would be, what I'm being criticized for. Displays emotional coldness, detachment, and affective flattening. Um, I feel like I used to be way more like this, and it was always weird to me because I would feel like I'm using a bunch of different tonalities and inflection. I'm trying to really like, well, not really, but I'm trying to like come off, I guess, like normal in a sense. And people would still say that oh yeah, you're very stoic. You're not really emotional. I can't really tell what you're thinking. Um, like it was just so funny. I was like, or like I'm monotone in a sense, and I'm like, how am I possibly monotone? I'm doing all this theatrics, and not too much theatrics, but I'm saying these things. I feel like it should feel like I'm normal. Like it should feel like I sound like you guys, but apparently it didn't, which is very, very interesting. But like now, I kind of don't have that problem, or at least I don't think I do. Nobody's like telling me how I sound to them anymore, because I'm not really around anybody anymore. I'm 27, by the way, just in case you needed to know. that information. I'm 27. I'm out of college. I graduated from college, and I have a job where I'm a truck driver. I'm essentially by myself most of the time, except for whenever I'm doing my installs and around people. And then I have to pretend like I'm this fun guy. Like, hey, yeah, hey, let's get this job done, right? But most like if I could do, it's so weird because like now I feel like that person that I portray is me in a sense. I mean, it is me. Like it is me. Truly, it is. I'm just acting like most people would act whenever they're trying to be nice to people. But sometimes, if you're like at a place for, if you're doing an install for so long, and the customer who, and they don't usually do this, the customer is just around you the whole time trying to talk to you. It does get a little bit frustrating, and you do get tired. Like, hey, but I don't say anything. I'm just like, I'm just, I just like, hey, in my mind, I'm like, man, like, you're still talking to me. Like, what is so interesting that you want to keep talking to me? But I mean, it's, I'm getting a little beside myself. I want to talk about how I came across this disorder now. So, I think I just mentioned that I went to college, I graduated. I originally started with pre med, then went into civil engineering, and that during my stint with civil engineering, I think I had major depressive disorder, like just for a semester and a half, I think. And because of that, I was like, you know what? I'm either going to drop out or I'm going to kill myself. And I was like, and I essentially my mom, she didn't get wind of it, but like she asked me like how I did on the test, and I was like, yeah, I did. I didn't do good, or something. It was something along the lines of me not doing good. And she said, well, you do bad, you're gonna fail, or there's something along the lines where it said that I'm gonna keep failing or something like that. And I wrote back to her, well, I'm sorry that you think I'm a failure. It kind of just over exaggerating what she said. Although I was really upset about doing this thing. I didn't really like civil engineering at all. It was so much work that I didn't even care to do. I was like, my original idea to even go to college. Like I did, I went to college to become a doctor, to help pay bills as well as take care of my grandfather. But I got kicked out of his house because his wife didn't like me, and he didn't stand up for me at all. Because I didn't really, in all truthfulness, I didn't really do anything wrong. I just was in my room and not really interacting with his wife and the kid or kids that they were having. I was like, I don't want to deal with this person. I don't really care to know this person either. It didn't help that he didn't really introduce her to me, and I was just supposed to just know this person. So I didn't say her name for the whole time I was living with them. And it was like 2 years. I didn't say her name at all. I wasn't really ever addressing her either. Um, and eventually it got to the point where she kicked me out, and I told my grandpa that she wanted to take my keys, and I was like, and he was like, okay, all right, well, I'll just give me your keys whenever you leave. I was like, oh, okay. So that told me that he didn't know that she was kicking me out, and two, that he didn't really care. I was like, okay. Well, then I lost my motivation to even go to college, or at least half of it. I was like, man, I don't even care for this. And then I switched over to, I didn't really switch to civil engineering. I was supposed to do civil engineering and pre medicine at the same time. And it was just a lot of homework, and I didn't care to do any of it anymore. And I was getting to the point where I was really just about to be done with everything. Very interesting. Um, and then that conversation with my mom happened, and then I'll get into that later. Uh, how well, I mean, the conversation was very simple, but like what it led to, in a sense, I'll talk about that later. But how I came across this disorder, so after eventually switching my major from civil engineering and stopping pre med entirely, I was almost done with it too, which is very interesting. I went into psychology, uh, and I first saw I saw the we were looking at the clusters of personality disorders, and I read schizoid personality disorder, and I was like, it was like a light went off in my head. I was like, this is like this is like so me. Like I can't even understand like how something could describe me almost to a T, and I just not known about it this whole time. But I was like, well, I'm not seeing a therapist or a psychologist about this. So it doesn't mean that I actually have this, but it just feels like so right to me. But it doesn't really mean that I have it because I haven't really been assessed yet. And then I was also reading, and I was like, I really don't see what the problem. I don't really see what the problem with that is. It's like it just feels like it feels like it's regular. It feels like it's so normal, or not so normal, but it feels like it's just somebody that doesn't care to be around other people. I was like, I don't see why this would necessarily be a disorder in a sense. But like, I had to think about it. I was like, well, I mean, I guess other people would, especially family, would have a problem with it. Not that I cared at the time. So I was like, that's their problem to deal with if they're bothered by it, right? But it was act like, and it was a very small stint with it, right? And then that semester ended, and I went into the next semester where I met three people, essentially. Um, uh, t- Two of them were women, and one was a man. And I don't remember what we were talking about, but essentially, so we were kind of like the same group, or at least not really a group, but like us four before class would kind of talk to each other, and we're talking about something, and I just let one of them know. Apparently, she has autism. Well, two of them had autism. It was the man and another woman had autism apparently, and I let the woman with autism know that I mean, apparently she has autism. I have no idea. Uh, I let her know. I was like, I'm pretty sure I have schizoid personality disorder. I mean, because we were essentially talking about it and whatever, and she was like, "No, you don't. There's no way that you have it." And I was like, "How can you tell me whether or not I have this thing? That doesn't even make sense. Like, you're not a therapist. You're not a psychologist. That doesn't make any sense that you would even be able to tell me whether or not that I have this thing." Like, and she didn't really give me an explanation. She was just like, "No, you couldn't have it. It doesn't make. Like, you just couldn't have it." I was like, "All right, well, I mean, I don't really care what you have to say." Uh, but but funnily enough, I had a conversation with my brother, like a few days after, or maybe it was. I think it was really relatively close. Like after I told her about that, and that conversation like upset me. I don't really remember what was even said in the conversation, but that conversation really upset me. And I was like it bothered me for a week, actually. And and I was like, and I had to tell her. Oh, I mean, I didn't really have to tell her, but I did tell her this. I was like, man, I think you're right because I'm just finished talking to my brother, and it's been bothering the hell out of me. which was surprising for me. It was actually bothering the hell out of me. I was like, all right, I guess I don't have this thing, this schizoid personality disorder, because I'm actually emotional. Not even realizing that it might be due to something else that's happening to me, or that had happened to me. Um, or not, it didn't really happen to me. It's just, I mean, I'll get to it. I mean, it's not, I guess I can actually say it right now. So, whenever I had that conversation with my mom, she was like, yeah, because my mom is a nurse practitioner, and she was like, yeah, you have depression. I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Although been, I've always kind of like had a low mood for my whole life, like learning some things like anhedonia, like oh you're just flat, like you don't really have like I guess emotions, and then like alexithymia. Yeah, right here it says anhedonia is a reduced ability to experience pleasure or interest in free. Oh, okay, that's my bad. Anhedonia is a reduced ability to experience pleasure or interest in previously enjoyed activities, often linked to WB system dysfunction. And I've always had that. So like I've always had like a low mood in a sense. Like I wasn't ever really enjoying anything. It was so weird how I could just go through my whole life and not really enjoy or care about anything. That was really the only thing that was kind of weird. But it would only like come up every now and then because I was still doing things. It was just that I didn't really care to do them, but I didn't really necessarily have fun doing them or like them. It was that like after a while, thinking about it, it's like I just don't really care about this stuff. And then the other thing was alexithymia or alexithymia, I don't remember, but it's essentially where you're colorblind to your emotions in a sense, where like you don't understand your emotions and all that. I remember I had a paper to write as a freshman, and it was about love, and I was like, what? I had to really think. I was like, what is this? How do I even like write a paper about this thing that I have no access to? In a sense, like I just don't understand what love is or like how it feels. And so I was like, I had to think about it. I was like, okay, would it bother me if these people were to die? Or like I had to think, do I love my mom or do I love my brother? I was like, possibly. Does it upset me when I think about them dying or being killed? I was like, does a little bit. I mean, it feels more than if somebody else was were to die or get killed. I remember I was in that same class. I was like, I really, if all of these teachers died, I don't think I'd care like at all. Like, I don't think I'd care whatsoever if all of these teachers died. And I'd said that to a friend, and they're like, "What? That's weird." I was like, "Is that we don't really even know these people?" I was like, let's just let that go. But like then we had to write about this love thing, and I think I was the last one to turn it in. I was like, this. I had to talk to her. I was like, I don't really understand this. I don't just don't get it. Like I know what love is supposed to be, but I don't really feel it in a sense. But nevertheless, let's go back to the conversation with my mom. She said that I had depression, and she prescribed me this antidepressant, citalopram, if that's how you pronounce it. It's a SSRI, and it had a very strange effect on me. Like when I first took it, I could not stop smiling, and I fucking hated it. I really hated. It was so weird because like I hated smiling, but it felt good in the sense that like it was working, and I don't know if it felt good because of what SSRIs do in making your brain kind of malleable, or it feels like I feel good because it feels like it's actually working and helping me. And so I was like, I was taking it, I was taking it, and I just couldn't stop smiling for the first 2 days. I was like, but the thing is like I didn't feel happier or anything. I was just like, I guess like what it truly did was like instead of me being like excessively low, like lower than what I've always been, it was just like, okay, now you're just what I thought was normal. Which I come to find out, it's just oh now you're just empty. Like you you thought you were empty before, but now you are truly empty. You don't feel anything, anything of substance in this sense. So like when I like before when I felt emotions, like oh okay, I really feel these. Like I get them. Now that I feel emotions, like this doesn't don't even feel like my emotions. Like these feel like somebody threw these on me for me to just react, to be reactive, and I fucking hate that. Uh, but like like I said, I was smiling. I just didn't feel anything, and I was also starting to laugh more too. And I was like, I don't really like what this is doing to me. And the final straw was whenever I went to, now this will be a little graphic, but whenever I went to go relieve myself as a masturbate, um, I did not get any pleasure from it whatsoever. And I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, what in the actual fuck was that? Like, out of the few things that I actually enjoy doing, although this isn't necessarily good for me, it is something I do enjoy. I was like, wow, that is horrible that that did that to me. And I was like, I'm done taking these. But it did take me a while to completely stop taking them. Though. I mean, it only took 2 months for me to stop. It only took 2 months for me to stop. But yeah, like after that, I was like, oh, I gotta find some way to stop taking these or not, because I really was like that is ridiculous that that did that to me. I had to read up. It's like, does this do that to you? And it's like, yes, it does do that to you. I was like, damn, I don't like this even more than I didn't like it in the first place. I don't like taking drugs in the first place. Then I had to take drugs that made me feel weird. Like I have these, it's making me smile and laugh, and I don't find anything funny. I also don't, I don't actually, I'm not actually happy right now. I'm just doing this thing with my face, and I still do that now. Like I still laugh now like at random not like not I can feel it coming whenever I'm laughing now more than before where it was just like so random, but like I can feel it coming now whenever I'm laughing. And then the smiling is just like I can't stop smiling now. Like, I mean I can stop smiling, but it's like if I'm not conscious of my smiling, I'll just smile. And now I do this weird half smile where it looks like I'm in turmoil, even though I'm like smiling and I'm not noticing it. It's like, oh, well, let me actually stop doing that right now because I don't like the way that my face feels. It's weird. Um, but that's that thing. But I don't remember where I was going with that story. I talked about depression. Nevertheless, I took these SSRIs. Oh, I guess it kind of relates to it. So now it feels like I'm just like excessively like emotional in a sense. But that's another thing. What? So like I don't know where I went from went with this, but I'm sorry. But going back to how I came across the disorder after talking to this autistic woman, and in this for this before class and saying like, I guess I am more emotional. Oh, I think that's what it was. Like I was becoming more emotional, so this conversation with my brother like affected me and bothered me. Um, when it before would not have bothered me. I think that's where I was going with that. Nevertheless, I was like, yeah, since I'm so emotional now, I obviously I can't, I don't have this thing. Since I have emotions, like, I can't have this thing. uh, and so I kind of just didn't think about it for a few years. And that was in, I think that was in 2022, or was that? Yeah, it was 22. And then, yeah, yeah, I think it was 22. Or, I mean, it was still would have been 22. But then 4 years later, like today or a few months ago, I was like, it was weird because I was feeling extremely bored. Like, I'm already always kind of bored, but it felt like I was more bored than I usually would be. So, what I did, it kind of like reminded me of whenever I was a child and I was just bored and I would just kind of like lay down in bed or sit down and not actually have any thoughts or not have no thoughts but like not have an idea of what I can do to not be bored at the time. And that was happening recently. I was like, this reminds me of whenever I was a child. It's very weird that I'm like back in this headspace that I haven't been in so long. I guess that's because like I was doing a lot of things, so I would never think about it. And then I thought about, oh wait, there was this diagnosis that I felt like really like agreed with me. Schizoid personality disorder. And I was like, well, let me read into it and look it up again. And it still rang very true to me. Again, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I do have this thing. Let me look up a bunch of videos about it. I go look up these videos, and it's like a lot of them really feel like, yeah, you could possibly have this, but I'm not really too sure. I'm not really too sure if I do or not, though. Um, I don't know. But I mean, it's just like I was like, I do feel like how I felt like when I was younger. And I looked through the diagnosis, like, oh yeah, I definitely felt like all of this stuff before. Maybe not as much now, like with the praising thing and stuff like that. But I was like, yeah, this definitely feels like me. That's why I look more into it. But I want to kind of like talk about this fantasy and introspection. So apparently, a lot of people with schizoid personality disorder have like this inner fantasy, or like a bunch of like they do a lot of introspection, and I never really had the fantasy thing. I remember when I was a child, I was like, oh, people have imaginary friends. Well, let me try to see if I could do that. And what it felt like is like I could do this, but I'm not sure if it really feels like I don't know if I'm going to become crazy if I keep doing this, or I'm just going to end up pretending like I have this thing and it's not really gonna be there. And so I just kind of stopped doing it like pretty quickly. I was like, yeah, this doesn't really make much sense to me. However, I did always do a bunch of introspection. Like rather than listening to music, I would just think a lot. Music never really moved me until I became a doorman. at a bar because I was like at the door and we were playing music for the night. So I'd play music and I had a bunch of music that I would listen throughout the night and kind of being conditioned into liking music more than I typically do. But typically beforehand, I would just whenever I was driving a long way, I would either like listen to a video or I would just be in silence, but I would be thinking the whole time. And the reason that I like to listen to videos or even podcasts, like it helped me to get to thinking about something. And so I would think about a lot of things. Like I would watch a video and then I might think for like an hour or so, depending on where I was going and what the video was about. And that was always interesting to me. Another thing that seems to correlate with schizoid personality disorder is dissociation. Now, whenever I was younger, I don't think I ever really dissociated. Um, well, I don't think I did, but I mean, I always had the ability, in a sense, to kind of like, I don't know, astral project, but like I would be able to kind of see myself in the room and the others around me, like I'm sitting in a chair right now. I can just kind of look at myself. I'm not really like over there in the corner looking at myself, but I can like kind of visualize myself doing that. And I would do that every now and then. It wasn't something I always did. However, what had come to be more true to me in the future was this feeling like I'm an NPC. Like I felt it a little bit whenever I was younger, but like as I got older and was in college and like more people were kind of just like coming in and out of my life in a sense, where it was like, oh, these people are kind of important, but they're kind of not. It felt like it's like I don't really care about any of these people. However, we're talking to each other with some degree of importance because of like work we're doing. And it would always essentially it would feel like I'm especially with people that got closer to me. Like it would feel like, oh, I'm an important NPC that you meet. Or not important NPC, but like an NPC that you meet in a game. And that NPC is like, oh man, that's a cool NPC. I like that guy. Kind of like what is his name from Solaire? Like I felt like I didn't actually feel like I was Solaire, but like the way that I interact with people is like I'm Solaire. The only difference is that they're not gonna find me with a face hugger. But yeah, it's like, oh man, like people really like this NPC, but he's not really around all the time, right? But like whenever he is around, it's like, hey, that's a cool guy right there. I enjoy talking to that guy. He's a really good person. But like eventually the relationships will end and nothing will come from then. Like we won't interact with each other anymore because I personally will not try to keep friendships. I'm not like if you don't want to be friends with me, I'm not going to try to be your friend. Like what I'll do, and it's not necessarily a rule, but it's like something that I follow, is that if I call you and whether you answer or not, if you don't call me afterwards, that's the end. I'm not going out of my way to make sure that we have a friendship because I don't necessarily care to have a friendship. I'm not gonna call you. I'm going to call you if you answer like, "Hey, let's talk." But if you don't call me afterwards, I'm not. I'm not going to. I'm not going to try to call you again. Like, "Hey, are we still cool?" I don't care if we're still cool. You could feel some sort of way about me, and then Just kind of do that over there. Don't put that on me. In a sense, I mean, I don't. Even if you were to want to, like, if you were really mad about what something that I did, as in not did, essentially, or not, I just didn't do anything, and you were actually mad about it, and you come to me with some sort of anger, I'm like, hey, well, I'll accept all of that, but this will be the last time that I try to talk to you. I'm not unless I actually like messed up in a way, like I missed out on something because I just decided not to go, right? But other than that, I'm not, I don't really care, right? But I mean, I have always, not always, but like more recently. Well, I guess not even recently because but like when I was in college and a little after, it did feel like I was some sort of NPC that people enjoyed talking to because people, for whatever reason, like talking to me. It's so weird. It's like people just come up to me randomly and just want to talk to me for so long. And if it's not people that are random, like coworkers or something like that, people that just want to keep talking to me. I'm like, hey, this is for more extroverted people. They like to talk a lot. Don't really matter. Let's just go beyond that point. I'll say what helped me to kind of deal with this, and the reason I say deal with this is that because I could have very easily become one of those people that kind of just ended up doing nothing, like not really finding a job, kind of staying at home and not doing anything, or like I get a job that's like minimum wage or is like just part time. I don't really have a job. I don't really have skills or whatever. I could have so easily is that turning point. Turning point was essentially whenever I was uh, talking to a mom and she was like, "Oh yeah, you definitely have depression," and she kind of helped me out with that, I guess. And I changed my major, but some things helped me with that. Um, One was I think just having like proper male figures in my life, like kind of like talk to me. So like the ability to just accept praise I got from one of my coaches that kind of helped me out a little bit. Whereas like I don't come off as much of an asshole in a sense, just because I'm willing to accept people's, I guess, I don't even know what you would call it, but like people's trying to bestow upon me a gratification, right? Um, Being able to accept that. There's what else? I uh, the jobs that also helped out. So I was a referee, and I got that from my stepdad. My stepdad got me into refereeing, and it helped me kind of like be surrounded by people, even though I didn't really like it. It helped me be surrounded by people and be able to project my voice and act in a sense. Not, I mean, I don't know if it's really acting. I don't know if it's me or if it's not, but I mean, it's like I'm still playing as a character, maybe a character of my character, maybe. Where I'm able to project my voice in a way, or because if you call a foul or you're doing a jump ball or whatever, you have all these eyes on you. I'm really not trying to pay attention to any of the crowd. Not that I really have any social anxiety. It's just that I don't really like being having all that attention on me. Uh, so it kind of really just focusing the court as well as the 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 scorekeepers that I kind of report to. And you kind of like if you call a foul, you talk to them like, hey, not you don't say hey, like white 51 uh, holding black ball something like that. Learn to kind of project that. Now that didn't actually It's funny, like it just helped me be able to speak better in a sense, but it didn't really help me to be able to deal with people. Uh, Now that I mean, I know this doesn't really sound like schizoid at this point, but it didn't really help me to be able to kind of deal with people in that sense. Then I got a job as a cook, and that I only did that for a few months. That job was, I mean, it wasn't like it was actually bad, but I just know mentally I hated that job. Like working late or until late. It was crazy because I was still in college whenever I was doing this job. I just remember that. Um, but like at night, I would go into the freezer and scream. I was like so frustrated. And I didn't know why I was so frustrated. I was like, I can't. I fucking like I really hate this job, but I don't know what I hate about this job. I just fucking hate this job. And I think it's like the idea of continuously serving people. And also, I'm a morning person, so it like really was fucking with me because I don't really. I mean, I help people. I actively help people, but I don't actually like helping people. That's what it feels like. I don't know. But like, I mean, that didn't really help me cope with it. But like, another thing that was helpful was being a doorman. Like it kind of helped me kind of just interact with people often, and also let me be an asshole. Like I don't necessarily feel like an asshole, but people do get offended by what I'm saying or like what I'm thinking. And I was like, oh, you know what? I can see how that could be a little problematic. Not problematic, but like I can see how somebody could take that the wrong way. I can tell that somebody might have a problem with what I'm saying to them. This is mainly patrons, not anybody I was really working with. There were bartenders as well as doormen. I didn't talk to any of the bartenders, like ever. It wasn't until later on where they were, I guess, cooler with me. I mean, I don't know what the deal was, but like eventually they started to want to talk to me, although I wasn't really interested in it. And they always had drama that I was never privy to. I would hear this drama from another bouncer, like, "Hey, did you hear about?" It? Like, no, I didn't. Well, this thing is happening. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's." She just sounds like a horrible person, and just kind of move along with that. Uh, but the very strange thing about being a bouncer, because I don't like drinking and I don't like doing drugs. Like those people started to look like demons to me. I was like, man, these because a lot of these people they were kind of fiending to go to a bar. The bar was so fucked up that it would rain inside the bar, and people would still be lining up to get into the bar. I'm like, these people have problems. Like, I can't imagine doing this shit, especially when it was cold outside too, and these people aren't wearing anything of worth. Like, they're just almost naked, and I'm just like, you have a problem. In my mind, I was like, you have a problem that you're coming here and bothering me. That I mean, that's really what the problem was. That they're bothering me on this day that I don't want to be here at night when I don't like it. I was like, yeah, this is just like, you guys all have problems, and I'm like, oh, you guys are all demons. Like it just that it didn't feel like I hated these people. I mean, well, I didn't really hate them. I just for sure knew I don't like them. But it was very different from when I was younger, where it actually did feel like I hated people in general. Um, I thought it was never that I really actually hated people. I just really did not like being around other people, like ever. I didn't like them knowing me. I didn't like them like seeing me whatsoever. But I don't know if that really helped me. But I mean, just the idea of like being able to accept praise, then working as a referee to kind of like learn how to speak in a sense, and then being a bouncer kind of helped me deal with people. Now, this last thing, the fourth thing that kind of helped was I work as a truck driver, so I'm mainly by myself most of the time. And sometimes I go into uh, homes and install things, and that kind of helps me with the, I guess, acting with people. And also, I don't have to be around people all the time because essentially, after work, I just come straight home. And I really don't like leaving my house more than once. So if I'm out and I come back home, that's the end of me and the outside world's interaction. Um, but I mean, that's it. How I view people, think I think most people are kind of okay. You know, uh, I don't really hate people. I do whenever people are acting kind of weird. I do say, well, they are human, and that's why they're doing that. They're acting this way because they're human. Um, it's kind of weird. I don't know how to kind of go about this. Hmm. I don't really know uh, how to kind of explain how I view people because I feel like they're regular. Like I don't typically call people people. I call them humans. Uh, if that distinction matters to you whatsoever. But it's like in my mind, I try to be human, and that kind of goes with the reason I say that is because like with having possibly having schizoid personality disorder, I'm pretty sure that I also I could be wrong. Just like every person with schizoid personality disorder, they think they have ASPD or they're sociopathic. It feels like I do have that sometimes. And so I look at people and I'm like, I gotta appear more human, so let me do the human thing. I don't really know how to explain. I don't really know how to explain that right now. I think I had a better view like a week ago, a few days ago, but like now I can't really explain it right now. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been talking for so long. I can't really think about it. So I guess I'll just kind of move along with that. I will say that I did take two personality tests just at home. These things were free, and one of them said that I possibly could have ASPD and also could have OCD. My OCD was lower than my ASPD on the first one. Like what? Like it was not way lower, but it was like ASPD was significant enough to where it's like I could see it way more. But obviously the schizoid was like way higher. It was the highest. And then I took another one, and this one didn't say that I possibly had ASPD. Uh, this one said that I did possibly have schizoid personality disorder as well as OCD again. Um, the thing is about like taking these tests is like the first one it was asking me more about like how I like do I feel good in a sense like taking advantage or manipulating people um or like hurting people, I think. The other one was like, do I like to do these things? And that distinction to me, like I don't like to hurt people. Like I would never go out of my way to hurt somebody, typically. However, when I do it, it does feel good. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't ever like try to, I don't know, get somebody to hurt themselves or hurt other people, typically. Like just getting them to feel like some emotional turmoil does feel good. It was also the fact of like if I care about other people's feelings or what they think, and I typically don't care whatsoever. That first one was more about if I care about other people also, and I don't. But the second one didn't ask as many of those questions either. So it was very interesting that I still got OCD though on that one. Not that these online tests really matter, but it was just kind of framing. I was just like, oh, I wonder if I really was wondering if I was comorbid with sociopathy or ASPD, and come to find out that I possibly could have OCD. Although I mean, it doesn't really bother me. Both of these disorders don't really bother me. I mean, all these disorders don't really bother me. Like, if I do have them, like, I don't really feel bothered. Like, I feel like I'm very mild on all of these if I do so happen to have them. ASPD. I will say, going along the track of like hurting people, there was, I mean, I've always kind of like, it was just like when I look into ASPD, it's like, oh, I kind of have some of these metrics, like about half of them. And typically, if I do take an ASPD test, I'll be like 50% or less when it comes to ASPD. Um, but I mean, there was there's a few times where I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to do something like lash out, for instance. And this isn't really about schizoid personality disorder, but I was one time I was a doorman. It's a very interesting story if you care to listen to it. Uh, there was one time I was as a doorman. There was this guy. I don't know if he was cutting the line, but he was bothering us doormen. There was three of us, and or was there four of us? And then the line that was there to get into the and for whatever reason, this guy stepped too close to me. He essentially crossed the barrier to where he was on our property. And before I get to this, I will say during this time, I had, for whatever reason, been like fixated on strangling somebody. Not on a specific person, but like having like somewhat of a strong desire to strangle somebody, not to death, but just to kind of see how it looked on somebody's face whenever you do strangle me. And this guy was bothering us. I was like, then I pushed him back, and he fell down. And it was the craziest thing. It felt like everything had lined up perfectly. Like he was on the ground. He wasn't really getting up fast or really at all. He was kind of looking at me, just doing epitaphs again, like trying to. I said epitaphs, whatever. He was saying nonsense to us again while he was on the ground, and it was so weird because it was like I could feel like the excitement. I was like, oh, this is perfect. at the same time, I wasn't. I don't know if I was associated, but like at the same time, it felt like there was a barrier that I was about to walk across. Not the actual barrier that we had, but like there was a barrier from like almost a doorway between me and the person that was on the ground. On my side, it was like how the world normally looks, like with the color, but the color is dull. Like that's how it looks all the time. It's regular color, but the color is dull. And on the other side, it was like purplish and gray at the same time. It was like darker colors, like everything. Like it had accents of like the actual color of the world, but everything was mainly like purple and gray. That's how like the me from outside my body, in a sense, looked saw it, or like how I was kind of projecting myself to look at it. Because I was like, oh, this is the moment. This is the moment, brother. Like, you want to take a look and see what can happen from this? In this moment, I knew it was like, if I continue with this, I will get to see what I've been asking for. I get to see the fear on his face. I get to listen and then see the people in the crowd, their astonishment, maybe their fear also. And then I get to see my coworkers and see if they kind of, I don't know, like not necessarily agree with what I'm doing, but like if they kind of like think I'm being weird, or if they would also, or if they were also like, you know what, I was thinking the same thing, but I wouldn't do it. And so I was walking, I was like, this is this is perfect. There's not gonna be a better chance to strangle somebody and feel like I'm gonna get away with it unless I force it, and then that is not gonna feel perfect. It's gonna be something that I forced, right? I was like, man, I can really get my. It was so weird. It was like the devil presented this thing to me. Because as I was walking towards him, I was like, am I gonna break his neck? Like this feels like way too perfect. Like this feels so perfect that it feels like something. Like it just feels odd. Like how perfect this feels. This is exactly how I would kind of want this to go right now. Because I had a feeling that my coworkers were gonna like stop me eventually. And if they didn't, I was just gonna stop, obviously. But I mean, I hope so. I mean, I don't imagine that I would have killed him, but I was like, I'm pretty sure I would stop. And so as I was walking, I was like, okay, here we go. Nobody's stopping me. And then I got stopped by my coworker. He was like, oh, good shit. Like, yeah, you pushed him on the ground. Good shit. I was like, yeah. Yeah, because I was really planning on strangling that guy. I really wanted to see it. I really wanted to see it. I don't really have that urge anymore. But like after that happened, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not gonna get another moment like that. I guess I can just give up on that dream. I mean, it's not really a dream. I can just kind of give up on doing that now. It's a bit of a tangent, but I mean, it's just how I feel. And then OCD, I don't really have anything about that. It's just I am a bit stubborn at times when things don't go my way. That's for sure. Um, in another part, I'll talk about like some interesting things, I guess. Just kind of things that I thought about and kind of dealt with a little bit.